Over 1,700 new millionaires are created every single day in the US alone, and more than double that across the globe. They're people from all walks of life, most of them people just like you and I. So the big question is this: how are so many people who didn't inherit money or have any special advantages overcoming the odds and becoming millionaires? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jeff Lerner, and welcome to Millionaire Secrets. Welcome back. Glad to be here as always. Glad to have you here as always on another episode of Millionaire Secrets, where we interview some of the most successful people in the world and really get into what makes them tick, what makes them pull off the thing that so many people say they're going to pull off but don't. How did these guys get it right? I'm joined today by Daven Michaels. He's the CEO of the 123 companies, which includes 123 Outsourcing, which is a major player in the virtual assistant and outsourcing space. But he's been successful across multiple ventures. He's a 10-time best-selling author, speaks all over the world, pretty much just a total stud, and we're grateful to have him here. Daven, welcome to Millionaire Secrets.
Thanks for the great intro, Jeff. It's good to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And so when I first read your bio, I mean, I've known your name for a while, and kind of we all sort of track each other, I guess. And but when I first was reading your bio, it said you were the CEO of 123 companies, and I read that as 123 companies. I'm like, he must get up really early.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice. That'd be better. Yeah, the 123 company is primarily 123 Employee, which is our outsourcing company. We have about 550 employees in the Philippines. We've been around for about 14 years now, and really, the biggest chunk of our business is entrepreneurs, small businesses, micropreneurs. And for them, we do virtual assistant services, everything from internet marketing, social media, telemarketing, back office tasks, inbound, outbound voice. The list goes on and on. We do all the busy stuff in their business. So they can focus on the income generating activities in their business and the things that really juice them and excite them. Our mission at 123 Employee is to rescue lifestyle starved entrepreneurs, give them their time back and their lives back. And we love doing it. We do also do a lot of work for larger companies in the customer service realm, but our DNA has always been a small business.
Cool. Yeah, I saw you guys also do, what's called BPO, business process outsourcing.
Exactly.
So I assume you had some more enterprise type of clients, but no, that's great. I mean, if you've been doing it for 14 years, you've been doing outsourcing since before outsourcing was cool.
Well, it's interesting that you said that. Most people don't pick up on that, but it's so true. When we started the business in the early days, it was a totally different time. First of all, outsourcing was a dirty word. Mm-hmm. So it was considered un-American, and I live in the US, it was considered un-American to outsource. So literally every single day, we would get FU calls. We pick up the phone, good afternoon, 123 Employee, FU, boom, okay? We would get FU emails, we would get death threats. It wasn't cool. And what happened, there were a lot of things that weren't cool. That wasn't cool, number one. Number two, the infrastructure didn't exist yet, so everything didn't work right in the early days. And what happened was there were a couple things, but one was the tipping point in our business was when Tim Ferriss's book came out, The 4-Hour Workweek. Obviously, that was a game-changing book for so many entrepreneurs, for me too. But for me, it was a little different because all of a sudden, outsourcing became cool. And it was because of that book. So we got to go from defending ourselves to educating our prospects and turning them into clients. And what happened in the early days, so that was the first few years, the first couple of years was, the tough ones. And then Tim Ferriss's book came out. That was helpful. And then what happened was we still didn't have a market. So entrepreneurs knew they needed to outsource, but they didn't know anything about it. This was pre-Tim Ferriss. And so we realized very early on that if we wanted to have a market, we'd have to somehow carve one out for ourselves. And so we adopted an info marketing model. I started writing books, eventually became a New York Times bestseller. We started creating info products. I started speaking on stages. We started doing webinars. We started doing our own events all over the globe, Australia, US, Europe, Asia, New Zealand. And we began educating our prospects and turning them into our clients. And that's a methodology that we still use to this day.
You know, I'm really glad you shared that, because that's so much of what I talk about and what I'm trying to, I think, awaken people to is in the world we live in. I mean, listen, you do outsourcing.
Mm-hmm.
Although you and I've got a fair amount of experience with that. I have a buddy who runs, Nathan Hirsch. You may know him. He runs Outsource School.
I do know Nathan. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm like probably more hip than the average person to the world of virtual assistants.
Yeah.
I know all the nuance or a lot of it.
Yeah.
Not like you, obviously. But to most people, that sounds like a commodity. Like,
totally.
You go round up indigent villagers and stick them in a call center, right?
You know, it's funny. It is a heavily commoditized business. And you made a really good point there, because when people look to outsource, well, there's kind of two buckets. So there's the bucket of like, very, very successful enterprises. And we like those buckets because they know exactly what they need, right? They already have systems and processes, everything in place, and they're just looking to scale and decrease their costs, right? And in that respect, we are a very heavily commoditized business. But then in the entrepreneur space, they not only want to outsource, but they want it done right. Like they want us to do things they don't know how to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, they need help.
They need help. And so that creates our value, makes a very big value proposition for us, right? At the same time, it puts us in a bit of a conundrum as well, because the unfortunate thing is that, and you know this, you know where I'm about to go, is that most entrepreneurs don't know how to manage people, right? And so they basically say, do my social media, do my internet marketing. And as we know, that doesn't work. And then they get frustrated because it doesn't work. And so many years ago, we realized that. And so today, we create many of those systems and processes for our clients. It just makes it easier. And that makes us more value-based. There's more of a value proposition. That's our unique selling proposition. And as a result, we're not the cheapest in the market, and we're not the most expensive. We're kind of right in the middle. But in the early days, we were the cheapest. We were just cheap, but as we built a better company, we're not so heavily commoditized. So it's pretty interesting when you think about the commoditization of that kind of a business. It's pretty interesting. So years ago, as you know, we adopted this educational model, and we created this culture at 123 that has really permeated or pervaded our walls. And so we work really hard, but we have a lot of fun, and entrepreneurship is in our DNA, and that's what we teach, and so on and so forth. So as a result, we have hundreds of thousands of 123 employee fans all over the globe, or Daven Michaels fans, which is really cool because, most outsourcing companies are commoditized. It's just an outsourcing company. There's
really no face.
Yeah, there's no face. It's not sexy. Yeah. Whereas we have fans all over the world. And what's interesting is, as you know, I'll never have the perfect business because I'm in the people business and people are fallible, right? I'm not selling a widget, I'm selling people. And so, we don't always get it right. And when we don't get it right, we'll fix it as long as we know what's up. We can always fix it. But we do a lot of QA with our clients. So we're always on a monthly basis, we're asking, hey, are you happy? And we always receive one of three responses. I'm ecstatic, I'm neutral, or I'm upset, right? And the upset is fascinating because it always goes like this. Yeah, I'm unhappy with my VA, XYZ happened, but we love you guys, or but we love Daven, or but we love 123, which is great because that really helps us bridge any issues we have, so we can make it right and we can still be friends again, So it's pretty cool. And, we didn't really know that was going to happen in the early days. It was just a way to get more business, but over time, it really turned out to have so much value. And I like to think that when entrepreneurs think about outsourcing, they think about 123.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such and granted, hindsight's 2020, but it was such a shrewd strategy that I think it can be very instructive for everyone listening to this. Anybody that has a business, or even if you have a widget, whatever you're trying to get out there, the instructive aspect of this to me is, first of all, there was no platform to advertise outsourcing because frankly, you said initially when you started, outsourcing was like a dirty word.
Yeah, I mean, we did do advertising. We were on Google at the time. I think it was pre-Facebook. So we were on Google and stuff, but we were competing with everybody else. And
that's expensive though.
Yeah, it was.
Going raw search terms, keyword-based advertising is expensive if there's nothing for people to feel connected to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was totally commoditized. We were just, we would say, a virtual assistant services $6 an hour. And then the next guy would come out and say virtual assistant $5 an hour. Right.
Right.
And we would pay, I remember we paid, it took us like months to recoup on a client. It was an investment.
Yeah.
And it was
so I'm gonna extract one little truth nugget from this that's probably pretty close to universal in business. You can never get rich if you have to compete on price.
Absolutely. It's gotta be value-based. If you're competing on price, it's a slippery slope. Right?
And so I hope everybody's hearing that. I mean, you've taken something that is fundamentally unsexy,
Absolutely.
outsourcing,
Yep.
and you've turned it into this very engaging, very charismatic, personality-based brand that frankly, I didn't even know you did outsourcing when I first knew who you were.
Yep.
I knew you were some guy in like a pink jacket,
Yeah.
Who's written books. That's all.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. We've always, for the last decade, we've backdoored outsourcing. That's how we do it. I'll give you a perfect example. You made an example of my books. I've got a new book out there right now. It's in the bookstores called The Virtual Entrepreneur. Again, this is actually my first fiction book. It's my 10th book, but it's a fiction book. It's a parable. And it talks about this broke, intelligent, future successful entrepreneur named Ash Jeffrey that's really struggling to figure it out. It's kind of his journey, but in the end, it sells you on virtual entrepreneurship, and you look at 1, 2, 3. But another example is we have a mega launch coming up in September, and it's actually, I bought half of a software company earlier this year. And every year or two, I'll do like a big mega type launch. This is the biggest thing we've ever done. We've done 7-figure launches. This is our eight-figure launch. And we have over 1,200 partners signed up for it. And in that launch, we're actually selling a software platform, but it comes with a virtual assistant. Each iteration comes with a virtual assistant to generate leads for them. So that's how we backdoor it. Like, I'll backdoor it on the back of a book. I'll backdoor it on the back of software or something like that. And it's just sexier and more fun and more interesting and more engaging, like you said.
Yeah, I've heard about that launch. I've had multiple people hit me up about it.
Yeah, we're giving away $1 million in cash.
Yeah, I saw that. Is there a Tesla involved? I feel like somebody's.
It's my i8.
It's your i8. Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, I bought a BMW i8. I had it wrapped. It looks insane. But the funny thing is, a few years ago, we were in Vegas, which is perfect for Vegas because it's so flashy. Right. I'm a flashy guy. And then a few years ago, we moved to Puerto Rico. We talk about that too. And so I actually had that car imported to Puerto Rico only because Puerto Rico has some amazing laws, as you know. And one of them, if your car plugs into the wall, you can ship it for free. So instead of paying the 30% excise tax, which would have been almost $50,000, there's no tax because my car plugs in. It's a BMW i8. If you're out there and you're not familiar with the car, it's got the cool gull wings and stuff, but you plug it in, it gives you enough charge for 19 miles. That's it.
So it's a hybrid, but the hybrid part is very supplemental, right?
That's right. Well, the hybrid is the important part, and the power is just a novelty, right? The electrical, yeah. And so, but the cool thing is because it has a plug, even though it only does 19 miles on electric, I import it for free. It was $1,500 to ship it to the island. So literally, I'm one of like 6 people on the entire island, 3.5 million people that have this car, which honestly, it's fun driving around Vegas. Everybody points, takes pictures. In Puerto Rico, they do too, but it's just so like crazy out of sight.
Right.
Again, it's too much, but
almost feels probably kind of indulgent.
Yeah. You just feel like it's weird. Like I drive around because it's Puerto Rico. Everybody goes, is that Bad Bunny? They go, is that Bad Bunny? And they think it's Bad Bunny, like driving around the car. But I'm actually, so what we're doing is we're giving away $1 million in cash, but one of our goals is to break ClickBank's one-day record, which was held by Aiden Booth and his partner. They did 3.5 million in a day. I'm pretty sure we're going to definitely pass that number up. And so if we do, then that car also goes to the top winner.
So I'm curious why and I don't have an opinion one way or another. I'm curious, what was the consideration, and this may be getting overly granular in our digital marketing stuff, but I just really want to know. Why did you choose ClickBank to host the Power of the Launch?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be your question. So Over the years, I'm really good at automation. That's my thing. And so in our last launch, we launched a platform called Social Sonic, which was a social lead gen system that we created that came bundled with a virtual assistant. And I created this automation that allowed us to do custom automated webinars. So what I mean by that, it's you and I understand how to do automated webinars. This was totally different. We did 140 webinars in 30 days with our partners. Each partner had their own webinar. It sounded like we were talking back and forth, and I kind of pioneered that tech. Now everyone has copied me. And I only showed up to 2 of the webinars. We did about 1.3 million in 30 days. But what was really good is we ended up with 4.5 million on the back end per, annually of VA services. So that's, remember, I'm always trying to sell more human capital. Right. That's my impetus. So this time around, when I bought into Chad's company, Chad is an exceptional presenter. He's, I like to think I'm good. He makes me look like a rookie. I mean, he's unreal. And so one of the things I was tasked with when we came together was how to automate his process, because he does it all live. And he was averaging about 32% conversion. And you're a digital marketer, that's unheard of, right? Yeah. I mean, especially at a $1,000 to $2,000 price point. And so one of the things I was tasked with was how to automate Chad's process. And I figured it out. I reverse engineered, I automated it, but there was no way that automated I was going to do 32%. There's no way, maybe half that, right? So I realized that if we wanted to pull the kind of numbers we wanted to pull, the whole thing would have to be live, which I hate. That scares the hell out of me, because now what's going to happen is we're going to have 10 to 20,000 people live on this 3-day workshop, again, this 3-day masterclass, which is scary, right? Because everything has to be redundant. So first of all, I have multiple email accounts. I have multiple texting accounts. I have a studio where we're live streaming from. We're simultaneously broadcasting on live stream and YouTube Live, because that has to be redundant. I have UPCs that we're buying because the power has to be redundant. I have 2 internet connections because the internet has to be redundant. Everything has to be redundant. And the last piece in that puzzle is who's going to do our processing, right? And so, do you know Brad Weimart over at EasyPay?
Yeah, I know him well.
Okay, so I love Brad. He's one of my best buds. And I probably should have given him the business. I mean, he already does multiple accounts for us. But I was just like, you know what? I cannot risk anything. Yeah. Now he has an array of merchant accounts for us, right? So we're on a rotator. But I just said, you know what? I made my deal with ClickBank. Basically, I have a 10% rolling reserve. For those of you out there that don't know what that means, it means that they're going to hang on to 10% of it for a while. I will have no problems at all with merchant processing, and I'm totally safe. Now, the issue, and why you asked about ClickBank, is because it could be about 8%, right? In fees, which is prohibitive. But the cool thing is, if you do enough volume, you can get on a plan where they'll rebate you a big chunk of that. So at the end of the day, my fees are in the 4 to 4.5% range, which is livable. It's about.
It's not that different than what you'd pay with any high risk processor.
Exactly, like maybe 1.5% higher, and to be able to sleep at night and not have to worry about that. That's why I went with ClickBank. Now, also, what's cool is ClickBank. They don't have to trust me. Normally, we do everything in Infusionsoft. Instead, they get everything paid through ClickBank, so there's total transparency. They don't have to worry about collecting from me. And I'm sure we'll pick up some ClickBank affiliates too, which is cool. So that's why we went with ClickBank.
Cool. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
I've never put an offer on Click. I mean, obviously I know a ton about ClickBank. I've promoted ClickBank offers, but I've never used it just because. Although I do, I mean, I suspect in some way it makes it easier to attract affiliates too,
because a lot of affiliates, they don't trust you.
Yeah.
And there are also many of them kind of live hand to mouth, right? And so they want to make sure they get paid right away.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, back in the early days, everybody was using ClickBank. And then there was kind of this mass exodus. Like there was some issues with ClickBank, and all the digital marketers moved to JVZoo. And JVZoo was right in the right place, right at the right time
right.
for business. Well, what's interesting, as I've been spending all this time with ClickBank, getting ready for the launch, they kind of explained to me, like, look, when that business exodus and left ClickBank, they really wanted that business to leave at the time.
Yeah, it was probably good for their.
It was. But now a lot of them are coming back to ClickBank. And I have to tell you, ClickBank used to really have their issues. The biggest challenge for me in ClickBank, I remember the way it used to work is you would make, you as a vendor would, have your product out there, it would be sold. And then ClickBank would put out these emails like, hey, and hope you enjoy your product. And if you want to cancel, click on this, or if you want a refund, click on this big fat button.
Right.
And it could remind him, hey, don't forget, you could refund, right? And as a result, you'd have really heavy refunds. But they have totally changed everything at ClickBank. And I have to say, up to now, working with them on this launch has just been a dream. They've been wonderful to work with. They really know their stuff, and they're really easy to work with, and they're very pro-business. And I've been really, really pleased.
Well, I mean, I suspect purging all of that, let's call it fringe business out of their world allowed them to be less aggressive on, playing defense as a merchant.
Totally. And then what they also did is they really kicked up their customer service. I think back then they relied on the vendor or the affiliate for the customer service, and now they're pretty customer service centric. So I think between that and your own customer service, I think it's really good. And I think the average refund rate right now on ClickBank, I want to say is about 8%, which is very respectable, especially considering the type of business they do. So
yeah, for those types of products.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm really glad I asked. I want to kind of, every time I do an interview like this, I'm always looking like, what is the big takeaway? Because, most people that are into podcasts, they listen to like 3 a week.
Yeah.
If you ask them 6 months later, hey, what did you learn on that one pod? You're lucky if they even remember who the guest or who the host was, right?
Right. They might get a nugget,
Yeah. I always like to try to say, this is the takeaway from this conversation.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I'm getting so far.
Yeah.
You took an unsexy, somewhat commoditized business, and because you put yourself first, with it as an info product, as a brand, and as an educator and a value creator, you now no longer have to compete on price. You now have trust that supports better customer service and allows you to work through any problems with your customers. And that, to me, I don't care if somebody's a dentist or an auto mechanic, or they own a McDonald's franchise. Your McDonald's franchise needs to be the only one where people also go, I love McDonald's and I love that guy that owns the franchise, man. He is so cool. And I went and saw his rock band last weekend or whatever.
Exactly. Right. Or I dig him, or by what I learned from them, I can tell that they know so much more about dentistry or so much more about outsourcing that I'm willing to pay a small premium to work with them. Like, this is the company I want to work with because I just think they're cool, and totally. And in the early days, it's funny, we've been doing events for over a decade now. But in the early days, I'm an entertainer, just like you. I was a recording artist for many years. I produced music and television for 15 years, worked with some of the biggest bands in the world. So you're an entertainer, I'm an entertainer. And today we live in this world that you have to kind of edutain. But back then we just did it because we love it. I love to entertain. And so we edutain. If you come to one of our events, they're fun, they're exciting, they're so cool. But I'll tell you something interesting. A couple years ago, I was at the internet marketing party for TNC. Right. And I'm sure you hang out there too. And the worst speaking gig on the planet is speaking at the internet marketing party, right? I mean, so if you haven't been before, so TNC is the biggest digital marketing event. It's called Traffic and Conversion. It takes place in San Diego. Thousands of people show up, but usually the night before, Dave Gonzalez does the internet marketing party, and you'll have probably like 600-800 people crammed into this big basement nightclub. Okay. Music is pounding in like 5 different rooms, and they always have a speaker speak on the main dance floor. Like, it is the absolute worst speaking gig ever, because they'll turn off the music in the main dance floor. 80% of the people are drunk and they still want to just party. 20% want to hear you. And the other 4 rooms are still right? So it's like, it's noisy, it's loud, nobody gives a shit, and it's full of all of your biggest haters, right?
Haters, competitors.
Because if you're speaking on that,
know-it-alls.
Yeah, exactly. If you're speaking on that stage, it's because you're at the pinnacle, okay? You're the hottest guy or gal in the room. You're the belle of the ball. They want you on that stage, but get ready for hecklers, right? I mean, the haters are there. And by the way, you can tell how successful you are by the number of haters you have. It's unfortunate. I mean, you want to be a cool cat, but at the end of the day, if you've got a legion of haters, that means you are rocking it, right? And so when you think about the digital space, who's one of the biggest guys that has the most haters?
I mean, like Brunson?
Oh, everybody loves Brunson. He's huge, but everybody loves Brunson. Who do people take a stab at?
Okay, who do people
He's
take?
huge digital marketer.
Ty Lopez?
Exactly. So nobody has more haters than Ty. So
Yeah,
it's Ty that was speaking, okay? And there was people really screwing with him. This one guy got on stage and started impersonating him. I mean, and Ty took it, man. He knows how to handle it. But I was sitting there listening intently because look, I've been doing this for a decade, and Ty's been doing it for not that long, and he's killing it, right? He's on the digital side, he's kicking my ass for sure. And so I wanted to hear everything he had to say, right? Success leaves clues. And he said one thing that I knew, but he really articulated. He said, listen, he said, if you're an educator today online, you're out of business because you're already done. Because you don't know it, but you're already done. You're already out of business. You're bankrupt. He's like, people don't want to be educated. They want to be entertained. He goes, I entertain. He does. I mean, he does. If you love him or you hate him, but he's riveting. He's interested.
Yeah, he's got your attention.
Yeah, I'm in my car or I'm in my garage, whatever. It's like, you're fascinated by him. And that's the difference. He said, he goes, listen, if you're an educator, he goes, you are already out of business. And I never forgot that. That was my nugget from that conversation. And it's so true. And so, so we just love to entertain. When we were doing this 10 years ago, you could just get away with educating. But we just love to entertain. So we have these rock star type events. My VP Bijal would run around in costumes. We would have music and lights and DJ and the whole nine. And it was just a really cool experience. So that's the way it works.
Well,
today.
I know it was a semantic slip, but you actually started to say a word that is actually a really valuable word, which is edutainment.
Edutainment, yeah, absolutely.
And we talk about that in our list marketing. Do you educate or do you entertain? It's like, I try to send out edutaining emails, and whatnot. It's really important. So I used to have a digital agency, right? This my Inc. 5000 plaques were for this digital agency that was super boring. We service plumbers, roofers, HVAC, termites, pest, lawn, pool care, home services verticals. The average client of ours was like a early 50s, white or conservative, mostly white guys, which I guess doesn't matter, but
kind of blue collar that kind of became
and they're still working with their hands, and they're not always in the best mood, and they hate the internet. They wish they could just keep running ads in the yellow pages.
Not sexy.
And so I know how hard it is when all you have is your product or your service.
Yeah.
And so when I came out with Entre, my entertainment business, my education business, I was like, I know that I have got to create super sticky personal glue in this business. And so I'm saying this to all the guys that I used to service, the HVAC guy, the pool cleaner guy, the termite guy. You've got to find a way to give your business a personality, or else I agree with what you're saying. You'll be out of business because some 24-year-old kid who doesn't know half as much about your trade as you do, but understands the internet and knows how to talk on video is going to capture your entire market share.
100%. Do you happen to know Roy Williams by chance, Wizard of Ads?
No, I don't. Sounds like someone I should know, though.
Absolutely. Do you know, have you ever heard of or been to the Wizard Academy?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so let me tell you about this. I think everyone will get a kick out of this. So there's a guy, his name is Roy Williams, and he was way before you and I. Okay, so we're kind of old timers in this business because you see all these new young millennials, like you said, like Ty, they just come along and just crush. Right? And that didn't happen 10 years ago, right? So that's all happening now. Well, Roy was the generation before us. He's still out there though, and Roy Williams, they call him the Wizard of Ads. And his specialty, very niche, is he goes into, well, they come to him now, but in every market, there's the top mattress person, the top plumber, the top painter, the top, same guys you used to work on a local level, right? And there's always one in each market that's killing it, right? They're not doing, 3, 4, 500,000 a year. They're doing 20 million, right? There's one in each city. So those guys come to Roy. And his claim to fame is he'll work with those biggest companies and he does their television campaigns. And he creates these funny campaigns around these personalities. Now, it's usually not the owner. So a perfect example is like 80 Do. I don't know if you've ever heard of 80 Do, but that's his. There's this one where it's like Mike Diamond, all my plumbers smell good. The smell good plumbers or whatever, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me this one campaign that he did, unbelievable, where they created this guy and he was like this funny, goofy plumber guy. And he became the star, like they created him, right? Kind of like the Verizon guy, right?
Right.
Hear me now. And then they built it up and then they did things like, in year 2 or 3 of the cycle where people would call the plumber and they'd answer the door and it was him, the celebrity plumber guy, right? They're like, oh my God, they got that on film. It was just genius stuff the guy does. He's just this out of the box thinker. So then what he did about over a decade ago, he bought this beautiful parcel of land up in the hills of, not Houston, but what's the cool Texas town?
Austin.
In Austin, right? So up in the hills of Austin, he bought this huge parcel of land. And then he built the Wizard Academy. And the Wizard Academy is a place for learning, but not regular learning. It's our kind of learning, right? The out-of-the-box cool learning. And if you Google Wizard Academy, check it out right now. If you Google Wizard Academy, you will see the structures and stuff. It looks like Hogwarts, okay? And you can stay there and you can attend conferences there and what have you. And it was built by guys like us who donated, for the walkway, donated for this suite, donated for that. Literally guys like us, and their names are all over the place. And the views are unreal. It's a beautiful place. It's incredible. But Roy is so dang smart. He put in the charter, it's a nonprofit, so they don't pay tax. And he put in the charter that anybody from anywhere on the planet can get married at the Wizard Academy for free. Okay. So now remember, this is a place for learning, but they have weddings all over the beautiful grounds. And as a result, there are over 400 weddings a year there because anybody can get married there for free. And it's picturesque. It's beautiful. Right. But he's so freaking brilliant. All that is lead gen. Okay. Because everybody needs catering, bands, food, this, that. And he and his team supply all that to him. So the Wizard Academy makes ridiculous money. But it's just pure genius. Anyways, if you get a chance, you get invited to something at the Wizard Academy, go, because it's an unparalleled experience just to be there for learning and just to take it all in. It's a very special place.
I'm actually looking at it online right now. It looks super cool.
It is.
I love the way this conversation's gone. I certainly had no idea, but like, I know a lot of business owners, marketing is like their least favorite thing. Like the CMO is like the lowest paid C-suite guy. Totally. They're like, oh, just call Daven and get me some overseas guy to do it for $6 an hour. Like it's just marketing.
In the corporate world too, the average lifespan of a CMO is 18 months. Did you know that?
I did not, but I get it. I mean,
it's like it's the worst job security on the planet because, the company fails and they blame it all on you, right? Company's successful, they blame it all on the CEO, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I hope that, I just feel like in the world we live in, and this is part of kind of the mission and the message that I'm trying to take to the market is like, listen, if you will embrace the crossover between digital technology and direct response marketing, you have the tools to live any life you want from anywhere in the world that you want, to help anyone in the world that you want, to virtually sell any product or service that you want. Like you have the tools. And if you resist that crossover or those two elements,
you're toast.
To echo Ty, you're already bankrupt. You're already toast.
And it's so funny because what are your two options? One is that you get to have a life that you design rather than a life that your business dictates for you, right? Mm-hmm. And you can literally have business on your own terms. Like I have a brick and mortar business, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of employees on 3 continents. I got buildings and this and that. But for the last decade, I've been running my business from a cell phone and laptop from all over the planet. And that's what I show people how to do. It's possible.
And you live in Puerto Rico. So
I do. I live in Puerto Rico half the year and I'm traveling the other half of the year, basically traveling and speaking. But ultimately, my point is that, look, some people are just so averse to marketing. And you really have 3 options. You could figure it out and do it, and or get a mentor or learn or what have you. You can resist it and you're dead, right? Or, if you just are not into it, it doesn't excite you like it does for, you and I, Jeff, is, you get someone to do it. Find somebody qualified and either partner with them or hire them. It's not the end of the world. Just do it, but
pay them what they're worth. That's not the place to be chintzy and trip over
true.
dollars to pick up pennies in your business.
Yeah, I totally get that. Do you know Rohan Seth by chance?
Oh yeah, I've had him on the show.
Okay, so we did an interview the other day, and we obviously have the same booker, so that may have to do with it. But I was blown away. First of all, he's a kid, right? I mean, he's a young guy.
Young, yeah.
And I was just blown away by what the guy is doing. He's so out of the box, and I'm sure he's not cheap. But my God, if you hired him, the stuff he could do for you, So you're absolutely right. You don't want.
Grow Rev is one of our ad managers. So yes, he's not cheap, and yes, he's gifted.
Worth it.
Yeah, worth every penny. Yeah,
I bet. Yeah, and they do Dean, and now they're doing Tony. So
yeah,
that's
good
awesome.
company.
Totally.
Well, listen, Daven, I know that you've got another appointment, so I don't want to keep you longer than necessary. I feel like I think we got our one thing, right?
I think so. I think we got that nugget. And maybe the other nugget is thinking outside the box, right? We talked about so many out of the box ideas today. As you know, the way I grow my business is backdooring my services. I could just be sell direct. I could, there you go. Think outside the box. That's right. Absolutely. I mean, it's like you said earlier, I could be still running the ads on Google, $6 an hour, $5 an hour, $4 an hour. We could be having the race to zero. But instead, I backdoored as an afterthought, and that's what we've been doing for the last decade plus. So.
Well, you're genius at what you do. It shows. The results speak for themselves. And I just appreciate you being a guest here and letting our audience into your world, man, and see why you're so successful. How can people go further into your world if they want to know more or follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of ways. I'm Daven Michaels everywhere. So davenmichaels.com, Daven Michaels on YouTube, but Daven Michaels on Twitter, Daven Michaels on Facebook, you name it. So you can find me there. My company is 123employee.com, and we'd love to send you an invite to the masterclass. Maybe we can put that in your show notes.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, any links you want, we can put down there. I will also let the audience know that we put together a special with Daven. Many of you know I have this book that I wrote, The Millionaire Shortcut. It's the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new digital economy. And you can get it at Millionaire Secrets. That's the name of the show, millionairesecrets.com/Daven M. So we know that you came from this episode. Daven is Daven, letter M, millionairesecrets.com, Daven M. Get yourself a copy of the book and check out Daven, enter Daven's world, and we'll put your links in the description. And I just appreciate you being here, and I appreciate our entire audience at Millionaire Secrets. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for watching Millionaire Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know whenever we release a new episode. Also, if you want to learn the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy, click the link in the description below to claim your free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut. And don't forget, Millionaire Secrets is available on all the major podcast platforms as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you can listen on the go. Thanks for watching.